Yo, it's Trent. Hope everyone's having a good day. Make sure you sub, share, like, comment, check out my other videos. And we got Taking Dabs in Sketchy Apartments, right? And we got two stories today. We got one from one of the first times I ever took dabs and one of the last times, right? So, first of all, just to, set a little perspective here, I smoke every day. And I've been like that for years now, right? And when you think about like numbers wise, I rip pens more than 10 times a day, right? Like 10 hits, more than that a day. I've taken like 10 dabs in my entire life, right? If that. It could be even less than that, but I've taken just around 10 dabs in my life. So that means out of all the weed things you can think of, right? I've tried RSO, edibles, every single kind of weed thing, the weed drinks. None of it, like, the tolerance builds up for all of it, right? Except dabs. Even edibles for a while would always work, but now, with the dispensary prices, it's like you gotta spend over 50 bucks just to feel something. It's crazy, right? But dabs, it could be any time. I could smoke now till I'm like 30, right? Every single day. If I don't hit a dab and then I hit a dab, I'm gonna be gone, right? So that's why we're talking about these, why it's so special, because it will just kill me. So first story, when I'm younger, I'm like 14 or 15, just getting into high school basically, and I was just, well, I wasn't just starting to smoke, but I was just starting to smoke like publicly, right? Like I would tell people I didn't know that I smoked if I thought that like it would turn into something, right? So I remember I was getting off the bus, but it wasn't at my stop, right? It was at another kid's stop, which usually meant we were smoking. But when we would do that, we would always have to go to the gas station or the smoke shop to get wraps, right? Like to get like White Owls or Swishers or something. But on this day, the kid's like brother or cousin had come and brought dabs, right? So I was getting to try dabs for the first time. Or maybe it wasn't the first time, but it was one of the first times. I was like one of the first three. Because I don't know if I told a first dab story. So if I have and it's not this one, then obviously it's not the first time, right? But we went up to this dude's apartment who I knew pretty well, but not too well, right? And it wasn't sketchy in there, but the place we went afterwards was, and I'll tell you about that. So we're at this kid's apartment, which was kind of near my house, so like nothing around this area would be sketchy, right? So we're sitting in there smoking. I remember they told me, and this is back when even like people that knew a lot about dabs didn't know a ton about dabs, right? Because he was like, you gotta heat that bitch up like all the way, right? Which you don't need to do. You gotta heat it up, but it doesn't need to be flaming red hot, right? But it was red hot, right? And they got this glob for me, and like I said, I'd never tried dabs at the time, right? Like I knew very little about it. So when they, even if they grabbed the tiniest bit, it would have been enough for me, right? But they grabbed like a decent sized glob. But in my head, I'm thinking, man, that's like a really small amount, I feel like, because, it's dabs, it's little, right? But they were telling me, they were like, oh, this is a good chunk, right? I was like, okay. And I underestimated it. I really did, right? They were like, what's going to happen is we're going to put it in the, what's it called, banger or heater or whatever, right? Close it up, it's going to bubble, hit it, right? Maybe it was a bubbler, I don't know. But they put it in there, and I was expecting to be ripping the thing for like, I don't know, 3 seconds, like just clear the smoke out. It just kept going. Like the kid was lifting the thing up for me, so it was like it was like he was doing a little bong thing for me, basically. Like I was ripping it, all the smoke would fill up, pull it, but it just kept going. Like I didn't want to seem like a bitch, especially in front of people I didn't know too well, and then I did smoke around a lot. Like you have to finish it, you can't be like, I'm good, bro. So I'm ripping it, and as I'm hitting it, it's like immediately going into my temples. Like I'm immediately just getting stoned, right? So I'm ripping this, and I'm like, whoo, right? And I finally finish, and I coughed. From the time I finished those dabs, 3 more people took their rounds, and then we drove like 20 minutes away to pick up this other kid, right? And that's how long, like, I was coughing for. Like, my throat burned for way longer, but I coughed continuously for like 30 minutes, right? I was so gone. I was in this car. I was in this dude's car going to pick up this other dude. I thought I was like gonna die, dude. Not from his driving or anything like that. Like I was just sitting in the back seat, and it felt like there was so much what's it called, gravity in the world. Like someone was just gonna push the top of the car down on my head. Like I was so paranoid about everything. Every car I thought was a cop. I was looking at like trees and stuff, like, and I'm seeing all the colors, not colors, but you get what I'm saying, like the colors were popping, because it was the first time off dabs. I wasn't ready for that high, it was awesome. But when we went to pick this kid up, he wasn't answering, right? So the one dude was like, hey, we can go in there. I know this dude, like, you know, it's chill. We can walk in, right? And I've never been one to do that or wanting to do that. So I was like, I'll stay in the car. It's fine. But I was getting paranoid. So I knew, I was like, you know what? I'll just come with. But I stood in back. You know, there was like 4 of us. I didn't want to just walk into this dude's house I never met. But I didn't want to be alone either, you know? So we walk in there. And I've been in a lot of places, right? And I don't judge. It could be good, nice. It could be horrible, dirty, whatever. I don't care, right? People live their life how they want to live their life. Things happen. This place was disgusting, dude. I was judging, okay? Because it was a nice apartment. Like, it could have been a nice apartment, you know? But my God, there was like, you know, like the boxes of corn dogs you can get, like the freezer? I remember just boxes, empty boxes of those laid across the floor. There's an empty beer case all over. And then there was like, I don't want to call them cigarette trays, but they were like these big, you know, ashtrays, like huge ashtrays, but just covered in wrappers of stuff, like blunt wraps and, like food, like Jolly Rancher candy wrappers, like just garbage everywhere, right? Like, it was nasty. And there was this huge stain on this dude's carpet, and it was like orange, and I don't know what orange thing, you know, what it could be, but who knows. But it felt sketchy in there, right? Like, it felt not good. Like, whatever we were breathing in there, it just felt wrong. Like, and we all, even the dude who was friends with him, we walked in there and he was like, this place is disgusting, bro. Like, you gotta clean up. Like, my room's nasty, but this is gross. And I'm sitting there paranoidly high, you know, just absorbing all this, looking around, going like, this place is disgusting. And it did look like, I mean, I'm trying not to judge, but you know how carpets look like when they're dirty clean and medium dirty clean? Like, they're either like really white, or they can be like kind of have dark spots, you know, or it can be like just totally disgusting. And it looked like a used sponge, right? Like, if you took a white sponge and just put it in a puddle of mud, that's what it looked like, right? So that was nice. We got out of there pretty quickly. I don't think we even picked up the kid, but we drove over there, and I was so high in this random dude's house, and it was disgusting. I did not want to be here. And the actual area we were in wasn't too bad. I mean, it was definitely, if you're talking in terms of sketchiness, it was more sketchy than where we were before, but it wasn't, like, dangerous or anything. But the second story, the kind of most recent one, I don't know if I've taken dabs after this, but this is like just before I moved to Florida. Well, not just before, it was like 2 months before, because I think I still had a girlfriend at the time, I don't know, but my cousin or my uncle, one of them hits me up, same family, right? They're like, hey, let's hang out. I go over there, and I was there for very little time. I was with other family members, too. I can't even remember if it was, like, a birthday or if it was a holiday, but I'm guessing a birthday if I was able to leave early, right? But I left early because one of my friends are calling me, and they were calling me nonstop. And usually when someone calls me nonstop, it's because it's, like, a good scenario. Like, hey, I have this house to myself for this long. Or, hey, I just got this really good deal of... Like, you get what I'm saying? Usually if I'm getting a call, a lot of times it's urgent. So I finally pick it up, and my friend's like, I got dabs, right? Like, I've never heard of this kind, and he was an avid dab guy, you know? He takes dabs all the time, so I was like, oh, never heard of them. He's like, but they look awesome. They look crystallized, you know, like all the diamond, whatever you call them. I don't know all the terminology, but you get what I'm saying. Like, they were nice. They were the nice kind. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting my ass over there, right? But when we got there, we hung out for like maybe 10 minutes, like loaded stuff up, and then he drops the bombshell on me, right? He's like, the problem is my torch is at this, and he says this kid's name, right? And I knew this kid from when I was younger, and you want to know how I knew him? He was on my baseball team, and one of the assistant coaches, it wasn't his dad, because that would have been fucked up, but one of the assistant coaches told me and told another kid on our team when we were really young to stay away from that kid, even though he was like 7 at the time. He was like, stay away from that kid, right? So that was my whole introduction to him. Like, that's all I ever knew about this dude. So we go over to his house, and you know how when you walk in a place, like, there's that smell to a house, and then there's like a vibe. Like, you're like, oh, this feels safe, or you're like, oh, this feels cozy, or this feels like like a log house. Like, you get what I'm saying? How there's vibes to houses? This had a bad vibe. And I've only experienced that like 4 times. But we walked in there and it felt like negative, you know? And it was decently sized, but it was just something felt off the whole time, right? Like, something just felt sketchy as shit. And I smoked with them because I trusted my one friend a lot, even though I didn't like this other kid, or not that I didn't like him, but I didn't know him. But I trusted my other friend, right? Even though it felt weird, and the kid was acting weird the whole time. Like, he was quiet, and he would be talking where, like, he'd be starting a conversation, and then he would just stop talking. Like, he would just, like, say something, he'd be like, oh, did you hear about the weather and you'd be like, what's going on with this guy? Like, what is he doing, right? And I didn't know if he was just high off something, but he was talking, like, normal. Like, he wasn't, like, slow, or, like, his eyes weren't dragging, his eyes weren't red, nothing was going on. So it just felt weird, right? And we stayed there for 2 hours. We stayed there for so long while this kid just played a game, and we were just taking dabs, right? And I don't know why we didn't just pick up the torch and leave, but I'm guessing because my other friend knew this kid a little bit. But what ends up happening, right? We smoke for however many hours. What did I say, 2? We leave, right? A week later, not even like a month or a year or 2 months or anything, right? A week later, I see these headlines on Snapchat that this kid got arrested for, I'm not going to say what for, but for something not good, and it just completely, how should I word this? It completely, like, gave me the thumbs up on that bad vibe. Like, it completely confirmed, that's the word I'm looking for. It confirmed all my bad vibes in this kid's house, dude. Because I was in this dude's house, and the whole time, like, my gut and my chest is telling me, like, I don't know if you should be here. Something feels weird, right? And then a week later, and I was high as shit off dabs. So I remember this kid had a fish tank, right? And this has nothing to do with the story, but this kid had a fish tank. And I was sitting there so stoned watching these fish, thinking in my head, like, I wonder what that fish is thinking. I wonder if he's ever talked to that fish. I wonder if, that's how fucking baked I was. Like, I was vulnerable. Like, anything could have happened to me, right? And then a week later, this kid gets arrested for some bad things. And it's like, whew, that's definitely a sketchy occurrence, right? More sketchy than the first one. Because the first one was like, it was like, oh, this place is gross, and I'm paranoid. Like, I kind of did it to myself, Not that the place was gross. I didn't do that to myself, but I walked in. I could have stayed in the car, right? But the second one, it was like I knew something felt off. And then, like, if it was a week later, think about if we went to this dude's house a week later. Like, what if he got arrested or got caught with whatever was going on? Like, what if they thought we had something to do with it? Like, whatever it was, I didn't like it. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure you sub, share, like, comment, and yeah, peace out. Yeah, thanks for watching. Be safe. That's what I always say. Be safe. Peace out.